I'm Cynthia James, and this network is about changing lives one woman at a time.
Welcome to Women Awakening. I'm your host, Cynthia James, and I get the distinct honor of introducing you to women. Fabulous women who are change makers, way showers, entrepreneurs, but most importantly, they are here to make a difference on this planet. And so they show us that they're not the exception, that they are an example of what's possible for all of us. I believe that on this time on the planet, there's a lot that tells us it's time for women to emerge, to bring our light, our love, our peace, our harmony, our grace, and our nurturing to move the planet from the tendency towards war to the tendency towards love. So, I'm grateful we do this every Friday. So you can come back every week and meet a new incredible woman. Subscribe. We're on Spotify, iTunes, iHeart, Spreaker. We're on YouTube and video. And so I would love for you to come tell other people, share the videos, because every single woman is someone that inspires me. Today, I have a guest that I met at a conference earlier in the year. Her name is Lynch Bolduc, and she's a former Fortune 100 C-suite executive, 25 years in corporate financial services and insurance. She calls herself a servant leader. She is a transformational leader, a nonprofit champion. She's a mentor. She's a coach. She's a life changer. She meets people where they are and supports them with every aspect of their journey, primarily in economically underserved communities. She's an advocate. She's brought closer to a family whose ancestors' land was stolen from them over 100 years ago, and that was in 2012. And she's a troubleshooter, facilitating solutions for situational homelessness. I want to read the quote that I got on her bio before I invite her to speak. I believe we are joined in an ancient and eternal union with humanity that cuts across the barriers of time, convention, philosophy, and definition. I believe that we have soul friends, or Anam Cara in Gaelic. When you find one, you have arrived at that most sacred space, home. Kate, thank you so much for being here.
It is my pleasure. It's an honor to be here, Cynthia.
Well, I can't wait to get into your story, but I want to start, where I start every show. Where did you grow up? Were you born? And what was your life like as a child?
Sure. So I was born in Hartford, Connecticut, and I am the daughter of Irish immigrants. Both of my parents grew up in Ireland. My mother was the youngest of 11 on a farm. My father was the middle of 9. They packed one bag, as the story goes. They got on a ship and they came over and they met here in Hartford at an Irish American home, because many people just gravitate to cultures they're comfortable with. And they were married, and my brother and I appeared.
And so, as a child, were you interested in helping other people?
Yeah, so in my childhood, we came from very meager means. My mother worked, my father worked. My father had 3 jobs, and they really, it was very important for them, for my brother and I, to go to Catholic schools. I never understood why, but it was more important for them to pay for that than it was to own a home. And what they instilled was discipline and giving back and supporting your community. And so, yes, I did learn that from my parents, but also learned that from the educational opportunities that I got through those school systems.
Yeah. Okay, so tell me how you got into corporate, Fortune 500. I mean, how did you move into that arena?
This is the best story, Cynthia. I went to a private Catholic college. I was required to go only to a college that was all girls, right? My my mother particularly was very strict about that. So I went to a small college in Tarrytown, New York, it was Marymount College, which is now part of Fordham University. And I came home from college after 4 years, and I had a liberal arts degree. I did not know what I wanted to do. I thought about potentially going back to grad school, being a child psychologist. That appealed to me. I also loved the law. I interned as a paralegal, but the most important thing to me was singing. I sang in choirs. I cantored in churches. I sang with a coach from the Metropolitan Opera for 6 months, which is all my parents could afford for a period of time. So when I came home, I thought I was going to have all these choices. Little did I realize that I also had 10 years of student loans to pay off. And
Yeah.
so my mother, in her conventional wisdom, said to me, well, you're going to go work at Travelers because it's on the bus line. And there I went. I interviewed. I was turned down 4 times because I did not have an analytical bone in my body. I was a creative liberal arts person, and they were looking for underwriters and actuaries and people like that who are very good with numbers. And that wasn't me. And so finally, I was hired into a customer service position, which I thought, this is good for a few years. It will help me start paying off my bills. And then I will go do what I want. Maybe I'll go to Broadway. Maybe I'll go to Austria and study music more. And little did I know I would be there 25 years later as running a business, being the chief marketing officer for the company and the executive vice president for the foundation. Because foundation and the giving was always there, right there at that level. And I found in my corporate world that I was able to use my position for good. And so that
Wow.
also was extraordinarily fulfilling.
Well,
So the bus line, that's where it started.
I you know, the practicality of our parents, right?
Exactly.
I mean,
No, there's no, and nothing except that. I mean, we had only one car, so I was going to have a car if I was going to work anywhere else. And so there I was, getting on the bus with my mother, going to work every day.
okay, so I want to go beyond that, but I want to know, because in your bio it says you are a wannabe piano bar singer.
That's really what I wanted to do. And of course, my mother said, we came to this country so you could have a better life. And that generation, a better life meant having money, being financially secure. And that's what her intention was. She achieved that goal for me. She was able to achieve her goal for me. Now, it then soon became one of my passions because, again, being involved in a corporate type setting was not necessarily my passion, but I found that I could do so much good with it. I could get involved in the community. I could be on nonprofit boards. I could become principal for a day in a public school system. I could do so many things and give back to the community while still being in the fortunate enough position of getting promotions, getting sent back to get a master's degree in economics. That was, they really insisted they wanted to let the left side of my brain to start working. And so it worked out. It just worked out. I was able to incorporate some of those dreams into the world that I created for myself.
Well, I think that that's really powerful, and how astute of your mother to understand that women need to be able to take care of themselves, and in the world that we live in. Okay, so 25 years goes by. Then what happened?
25 years goes by, and I am feeling I'm not challenged anymore. I've come so far. Financially, I am prepared. My daughter, I was prepared at the time. I was a single mom. And I was also at that point taking care of my parents who were retired on Social Security and pension. That's all they
Wow.
had.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
so built a house. They moved in with me. I was supporting them, supporting my daughter. And at that point, I thought, okay, I've arrived at some place. There's a pivotal moment right here. I no longer want to live this life, which was 24/7 international travel, being away from home so much, and missing a lot of quality opportunities with my daughter. And so again, serendipity, I received a phone call, and I never took headhunter phone calls before because I said, I have no interest in moving anywhere or going to another place. But I took this one, and this one was, would you ever consider coming over to the Greater Hartford Arts Council and taking the CEO position? Because it was 2009, and what was happening in the world in 2009, it was imploding economically. Now, the company I worked for was absolutely in wonderful shape. Great investment strategy, very conservative. We did not have the situation many companies did. But regardless, I saw this as a challenge. This organization supported 150 arts, culture, and heritage organizations in the Greater Hartford community. And these were smaller organizations that would probably no longer exist if the funding, operational funding to turn on the lights was not there. And what is the first thing to go in a recession? The arts. Things
Yes.
like the art, because now we go back to basics. We have to focus on homelessness. We have to focus on feeding people. People have lost their jobs and they've lost their retirement plans. Many of people lost their 401k money. They had to go back to work. So I viewed this as not, it was a life-changing shift that I chose.
Wow.
Yes, it was a very, very pivotal moment in my life.
Well, my brain is going like in all these different directions, so I'm just gonna start in this one place.
Mhm.
So in your bio, it says dedicated wife, mother, grandmother, right?
Yes.
So I'm assuming a life partner came into this scenario
Yes,
while
and
all of this.
yes, I did have a life partner, and we were married. We were then divorced 13 years later. Our daughter was 6. This is a person in my life who is still, we are still very close. We could write a book on a good divorce. And then our daughter was not, I mean, traumatized. That's a traumatizing situation no matter what. But if you can rise to the occasion above any of the fray and the reason for separating, we were able to do that together. And that was also a blessing, but also my need, and you've seen in my bio, I'm a peacemaker. I want peace in my life. I fiercely want peace in my life. So I always use the symbolism of the dove and the hawk. I don't know if you've heard of that, but the
Go ahead.
dove, Picasso drew the dove and pen, I think black ink or pencil, the dove of peace. The dove represents peace. And then the hawk represents a fierceness, right? And the ability to get things done and to drive forward. And for me, those two are combined in my heart, in my soul. I am a peacemaker, but boy, I am fierce when it comes to making peace. I will give up anything to find that peace, and I will go after anything to find that peace. And I will eliminate obstacles to find that peace. So that's the dove and the hawk that I believe symbolically I had evolved into, and I grew and continue to grow in wanting to give back. So yes, I was a single mom. I met my now current husband when my daughter was about 12 or 13, and we married when she was 17. So our family, now she is married with her own 2 children, 2 daughters, a 9-year-old and a 4-year-old. And I am so blessed. This is the best time in my life.
Well, that's beautiful to know. And I love a fierce peacemaker. I
A little bit of an oxymoron, yes, but
yes, but it's so important.
it
And
is.
I think, when you think about it, you know, I don't care what people are going through. A lot of women are fierce in the protection of their children and their
Correct.
homes and things. I want to go back to your family for a moment
Yes.
because we are in a country right now that is fiercely divided about immigration. And yet your parents were immigrants and came here and made a life. Tell me how you're navigating feelings around what you're seeing today.
Well, that's a poignant question. Um, I feel that my parents were in at a period of time in the 1940s where their issue was not they weren't running away from crime, or they weren't fearful of their lives, and obviously they didn't have children. They were young, and in Ireland at that time, the eldest son of the family inherited everything. So if you were the eldest son, you inherited the home, and everyone else had to figure out what they were going to do. And so my mother being the youngest and female of 11, and my father being the middle of 9, once they became of age, they had to make decisions. And so their process was very different. They did an application, they had to be sponsored by someone here, and they happened to have aunts and uncles who had immigrated before them. These people committed to sponsor them, to take financial responsibility for them until they could find their own job. That was their process. They had to wait 3 or 4 months. They were not refugees. The situation today, Cynthia, is heartbreaking. And this is probably why I continue to focus on helping to rescue people who are motivated themselves to move forward into a better life. I am not a political person by any means, but I feel strongly that we have an obligation to humanity to consider how can we collectively, as a people, as a this is America. This is the, land of the free, home of the brave, and we welcome you. And I think that many of the people in my generation and maybe younger generations who did not have their they might have ancestors who immigrated. None of us were born here. None of us were native to this
Mhm.
land. Most of us were not native to this land. We all immigrated, different times, different situations. In my parents' time, they were looking for work. I would say during the famine in Ireland, that was a different immigration, but people they were refugees at that time. They had no food. They had no work, and so they were refugees, but they were still welcomed into this country. And I
Mhm.
think the issue today is we are so over inundated with people in the rest of the world who are in need. It becomes a very difficult conversation to have.
Yeah, well, it does. And though it's really interesting to me because in the interviews I've done and some of the research I've done, a lot of these people want to come to work.
They
They
do.
want to come to make a better life. And we're living in a country where, jobs aren't being filled. And so, what's I don't even know the answer to this question, but I love that you're a solution person.
Yes.
It's like, how do we create space for
Correct.
people that want to work to be able to do that and not feel like we're so overrun that we can't, that our resources are depleted. So it's a question in my heart.
It is
And
fine. Yes.
yeah,
And
so
it's a
I
systemic problem. This is
yes,
not, it's a systemic problem that has continued to worsen in our
yes,
lifetime.
yes. So in this moment, tell me your biggest passion.
Oh, my biggest passion, I would say, is for my granddaughters,
Ah,
to really help them grow up to be strong women with hearts of gold. I want them to be fierce, but I want them to be peaceful.
Mm.
I want them to understand that they are blessed, and that their mission in life is to take what they have and give their gifts to the world, share their gifts to the world. They have this running joke that they call me Mimi. And when my older granddaughter, who is 9, soon to be 10, she's basically pre-teenager, she will say to me, "Oh, Mimi, you're so peace and love." And I said, "Okay, that's fine. Peace and love is good. But don't mess with that peace and love, because then their fierceness will come out." But yes, I think that's my major passion. I also have a passion. And this is something I do on the side. I am an instructor, professor in a master's of organizational leadership program, because I think that I teach part-time, and I believe strongly that young adults today in the work environment are missing some very important cues in life. I believe they are missing empathy. We can talk all day about emotional intelligence. That's a whole topic. But I believe that they are missing the opportunity to be successful by proving yourself that you can deliver. There's almost, well, when am I going if I get this degree, I'll get a promotion. That's just not true. Doesn't work. Life doesn't work like that. So I love being able to work with these students to help them become influencers in their own work world and their personal world. I believe that what made me successful, of all of the things that were surrounding me and people giving me opportunities for which I was blessed, but what made me successful on my own was that I delivered. I underpromised and overdelivered every single time. And that is how you become the go-to person. And
Yeah.
I enjoy explaining to people how to do that. There is no rocket science here. It's basic logic. You become the go-to person, you solve the problems, become your own leader. Lead yourself first.
Yeah.
And you can determine how to become a leader and fit in an organization. I always tell my students, there are no good and bad leaders. We can identify leaders throughout history, but they are leaders. There are good and bad outcomes. But if people are strong enough and willful enough that other people will follow them, then they are leaders. That's a
Yeah.
skill that you need to have, but for a good outcome, for the goodness
Yeah.
of humanity. Yes.
Well, and I think that empathy part is important, because I think some of our young people, I co-teach a class at an engineering school here, and I feel like they've been bombarded with so much stuff,
Yes.
and from war to school shootings to whatever, that they've kind of become numb to feeling.
Correct.
And if you cannot feel, how does empathy enter?
Correct. There's no
And
room for feelings.
that's right. That's right. And so that you are a person who wants to invite them into a different kind of leadership, I
Mhm.
think is important, because I think the leaders of tomorrow, their openness, their willingness, their caring is going to shift the paradigm that we're currently in.
Yes. Yes, I agree. I totally agree. So, and beyond that, my passion, I would say that my grandchildren, impacting others through my own wisdom, what I have learned throughout my lifetime. And I am still learning. I am a lifelong learner. But I also have a passion for lifting people up who are motivated but have lost an opportunity, have been put in a situation or have arrived in a situation not of their own doing. And I cannot do that for masses of people. And I think this is one of the things that what's going on in our world right now, and especially in the Middle East, is it's heartbreaking. And to think that, what can I do? Well, I may not be able to do anything in that situation, but I can help one family here. And if
Yes.
everyone thought about helping one person, supporting them. And it doesn't mean handing them a check. It means staying with them on their journey, getting them the resources that they need, because many people are so overwhelmed with their situation that they cannot possibly look and find resources that they need. So they do need some guidance. And that's where I think the rest of us come in. We ought
100%. So,
absolutely.
so if I were to ask you to give yourself a title, what would it be?
Oh boy. Give myself a title. I am a, and this is going to sound very simple, but I am a problem solver
Mhm.
at every level. Problem solver personally, a mediator, somebody who will always look at both sides of the situation. And I will help others solve problems. I
Mm.
will, so problem solver doesn't sound very exciting, but at the basic core, that is what I do. And why? Because I love peace. I love seeing people joyful and happy. And again, it comes back to that whole being peaceful. And I will go to extremes, and I will make phone calls to government officials if I need to. And I've done this before. I have, and I will do whatever I need to do to give somebody the opportunity that they deserve.
It's beautiful. Well, I love problem solver. And when I looked at your bio, the thing that popped out at me was servant leader.
Yeah.
So how do people find you?
So interesting. I once had after I moved on from the nonprofit I was working with, I've since been doing a lot of volunteer work, board work, but also roll up your sleeves work. And those are with nonprofits that I believe in. Um, and so how do people find me? Well, my card, I don't have a card. So my card would say, "This is my card." And it would have my phone number and my email. So I would say my email is probably the best way to find me. I am on LinkedIn as well as LinkedIn. I am as Kathleen Lynch Bolduc. That was the given name my parents gave me, Kathleen. So I am on LinkedIn. I am on social media as well, other social media. And I can be reached at my Gmail account, which is kath923@gmail.com.
Well, you're inspiring, Kate. All of a sudden, the light started coming in here doing something
Oh, I see
weird.
that.
Hold on.
I see the aura around you.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I don't even know how to fix it. So, oh well.
Okay.
Um, so, um, I asked the same last question of every person.
Mhm.
This show is called Women Awakening. You've overcome a lot of obstacles in your life, including breast cancer.
Mhm.
What would you say is the most important thing for women to know about the importance of their awakening on this planet at this time?
I would like women to know that that they have the power within them, that they do not need to look outside for validation. They have the power within them, and what they need to do is to take that and sprinkle that stardust wherever they go. And as you do that, you will come across opportunities that are presented to you. Your eyes may see, but you need to have peripheral vision and see around the situation, and then dive in and give what you can give. That is the most fulfilling thing. But know that the power is right here. You have the power. Some people will say, "Well, I can't do that." You have it. You have the power to do good work in this world, and you do not need validation by a title or someone else to identify with.
Well, that's beautiful. Yeah. I mean, whoa, what would happen if all the women on the planet understood that they were powerful? It would be
Exactly.
a game changer.
Yes,
Well,
it was.
thank you so much for being here. I loved our conversation. I love who you are and your mission on this planet, and grateful that you came.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. It was my pleasure. Thank you.
All right, ladies, I say the same thing to you every week on some level. You know, I love what Kate just said. The power is within you. If you knew that you came on this planet encoded with everything that you needed to be powerful, dynamic, mighty, successful, joyous, happy, expansive, wow, you would be a game changer beyond anything we could possibly know. So, my invitation to you is step into your greatness, step into your power, be a lifelong learner. Step out and look for people. I love that she said that your soul friends. Look for them, connect with them, and let's make a difference on the planet. Thank you so much for being here. I love you all. I'll see you soon.